שיר בגמרא במציע פרק השאל. We did a few shiurim on it. I wanted to do as many as we can. So the Mishnah is going to talk about the concept of בעליו imo by השאל, and then the Gemara is going to talk about all the halachas of all the four shomrim. It was never discussed in detail, and this is the first opportunity to discuss it in detail. When we gave a shir in a perek sugיא in daf, I believe daf pei omud beis, we had a whole shir about all the four shomrim. We had a whole shir about the four shomrim. We're going to go into it. Okay, now we're going to go into the concept of בעליו imo. The concept of בעליו imo means that when the shoyel borrows something from the mashil, let's say I borrow a cell phone from the mashil, and the mashil did something for me. Let's say he made me a cup of tea, or he worked for me, he was painting for me at the time when I borrowed the item. So that's called בעליו imo. I am the shoyel, I'm off the hook, I'm potter and everything. The Gemara is going to learn it from Sukkim in different ways. How do we know that he's potter on Gneva Veda? How do we know he's potter on Pshia? How do we know he's potter on Oines? We're going to talk about it. Now the concept that the shoyel is potter on Oines by בעליו imo, it says clearly in the Torah. That's all it tells. Okay? So the first thing that I want to concentrate is on the pasuk. It says in the Torah, "V'chi ishal ish meim re'eyu," when somebody borrows something from his friend, "V'nishbar oimes," and it broke or died, so which is a case of oines. بعلیו imo, if it was not בעליו imo, meaning the owner did not do anything for the shoyel at the time of the borrowing, shalem yishalem, then the shoyel is chayav. In בעליו imo, if the owner did something for him at the time of the borrowing, like he painted his house, and it doesn't make a difference what, lo yishalem, he doesn't have to pay. The rest of the pasuk talks about a sugיא, doesn't tell us the detail of the halachas of sugיא. It's irrelevant for this year. Now let's go read the Mishnah. Hashoyel esapor. Somebody borrows a cow. Now a cow doesn't mean a cow. Cow means anything that you borrow. V'shoal בעליו imo, and he borrowed the owner with the cow to work for him. Or sochar בעליו imo, or he hired the owner to work for him. Meaning, one, he borrowed the owner to work for him, or he hired the owner to work for him. But either way, the owner is doing something for him at the time of the shayla. Another case, so that's case one. So in this case, he borrowed the cow at the same time that he borrowed the owner. Second case, shoal בעלים, he borrowed the owner, or he hired them, let's say at 10 o'clock, ואחר כך shoal esapor, and then at 11 o'clock he borrowed the cow. At 11 o'clock the owner was still working for him. So therefore it's still בעליו imo. Umeiso, and the cow died, beoines potu, shenemar im בעליו imo lo yishalem. If the owner is working for him at the time of the shayla, he doesn't have to pay. Rashi. Ashoel says the Elik Rashi, Ochi garsinan השאל לספור ושאל בעליו imo, יסוחר בעליו imo. Says Rashi is clarifying. Lo garsinan schirus bekulam המסניתים בפור. Our Mishnah doesn't talk about renting a cow, only regarding hiring the owner. Regarding renting a cow, the Mishnah doesn't talk about. If the Mishnah would have said it, we would learn out. The Mishnah, the Mishnah is telling me, whenever you borrow a cow, whatever the owner is with him, he works for him. Either he borrowed the body of the owner. He hired him. It's called in בעליו imo. But regarding the din of renting a cow, the Mishnah doesn't talk about it if it's potter and בעליו imo. Meaning the Mishnah doesn't talk about the sugיא if a sugיא is potter and בעליו imo. From the Braisa we are going to learn it. As we know, the tzorcher is also potur if it was in Ba'alav Ima. Now we're going to turn the page to Daf Tzadik Daled Amud Beis. Top of the Gemara. Aval shal esaporo, but if he borrowed first the cow, let's say at 10 o'clock. V'achar kach shal esaporo limo yisochom, and then at 11 o'clock, he borrowed the owner to work for him, or he hired the owner to work for him. Umeiso, and then the cow died. Be'oines chayiv shenemar ba'alav eini mo yishalem yishalem. Here the owner was not with him in the time of the borrowing. We need the owner should work for him in the time of the borrowing, and it didn't exist. Rashi. Aval shal esaporo. Says Rashi, what's the chiddush? Ashmeino, the Mishnah wants to tell us, no, afal pi shoyoyim b'shas yisrael. Even though he was with him in the time of the oines, lo yave she'elo b'bailim leifturi. It's not considered ba'alav imo to be potu. Elohim kain, unless oyoyim b'shas she'elo, unless he was working for him in the time of the she'elo, the time in Mefarish B'Gemara, and the Gemara is going to explain the reason. Now we're going to go to the Gemara. At the beginning of the Gemara is just being technical. The Gemara brought two cases regarding Ba'alav Ima. Case number one, that the cow and the owner was borrowed at the exact same time, let's say 9 o'clock. In case number two, first he borrowed the Balabais, and then he borrowed the cow. Okay, that's not, either one is Ba'alav Ima. From there that it says in the second case of the Mishnah. We're talking about in the beginning of the Mishnah, but in the second case of the Mishnah. That he first borrowed the owner, and then he borrowed the cow. Michlal comes out. The reisha the ktani ima. The reisha, it says the word ima, which means the same time. Ima mamash, it means it was he borrowed the owner and the cow at the same time. How could it be in the same time? Why? Meaning the cow and the cow and the owner are staying in the same not in the same place. Let's say I meet the mashil at the street, and I'm asking him, can I borrow your cow to work for me? The moment the owner says yes, he's already working for me. But the cow, I still have to go to the field where the cow is and make a kinyan meshicha. I have to make a kinyan to acquire, to be accepting all the responsibility. So therefore it takes time. So therefore it's a case of ve'achar kach. So it's no case imo mamish. Rashi, u'ba'elim ba'miro, mishe'omar lo harei parosi v'ani lishol emloch. From the moment that the owner says, I'm willing, me and my cow are going to work for you, avegufri sho'ulo, the owner is already working from the moment he said yes, u'paro, but the cow, akati michsero meshicha, still I'm missing, kina meshicha. Ve'al kein, therefore, therefore, it's a case of borrowing the owner and then borrowing the cow, which is the second case in the Mishnah. So we don't have a case of Ima Mamish at the same time. And for the Elike Gemara, two ways that it can be. Iboy is saying it's not two tirutzim. It means if you want, there is this way can be, and if you want, this way can be. Iboy is saying you're going to kaimo poro bechatzero desha. Could be that the cow is already in the chotzer of the shoel. Therefore, the shoel doesn't have to make a kinyan meshicha because his chotzer is already koine for him. So the moment the mashil says I'm agreeing to the deal, so the mashil is already working for him, and the shoel. And the cow is already koine for him also, acquired for him also, because she's in the chotzer of the shoel, so at the same time. Another teretz, another answer. The Omerlei, the shoel tells the mashil, at gufach loiti shoel, I don't want to borrow you at chas meshichas poros. Until I make the kinyan meshicha on your cow, I don't want to borrow you. So therefore it's waiting. So the moment he's going to make a kinyan meshicha on his cow, that the moment is going to be Ba'alav Ima at the same time, literally the same time. We're going to turn back to Daf Tzadik Daled Omud Aleph. There is a Tosfos. Pora b'mishicha ba'ilem memero. Eksho Rivom. Rivom is Rabbeinu Yitzchak ben Meir, the grandson of Rashi. Rivom is asking a kasha. For me, is mashma that the moment the Balabai says, Be'amiro says yes, he's already working for me, even though he's not actually working for me. But the moment he says yes, he's working for me. Frag the Revom, we already learned before in our Perek. We're learning later on in the Perek. Shaklo, somebody who's a planter. Plants for you. Tafcho, you butcher. Ve'umlo is somebody who's a moil. Ve'sapar, moso, and the barber of the city. All those people that work for you. Kulu be'idan avidatayu. All of them, while they're working for you, k'she'ele b'baylim domo. What does it mean? That if I'm taking a haircut by the barber, and I'm borrowing something from him at the same time that I'm taking a haircut, so it's considered Ba'alav Imay because he's working for me at the same time that I borrow something. So what are we learning from that? Mashma, it's understood. The sheloi be'idan avidatayu. When it's not in the time of the work, when they don't give me an haircut, lo yave she'ele b'baylim. It's not considered Ba'alav Imay, even though if, let's say, if the guy says, yes, I will give you a haircut, and he gives me a haircut 10 minutes later. So it doesn't consider Ba'alav Imay from the time that is saying yes to give him a haircut. So why over here we say that it's considered Ba'alav Imay the moment the guy agrees to work for me? No. The Gemara says over there that it's in the time of the work that considered Ba'alav Imay. So Tosfos says it's not only in that time. The lav dafke beidin avidatay. It's not only in the time of the work is Ba'alav Imay. Could be they consider Ba'alav Imay even when they go to work. Or they prepare themselves to work. Velaso is sent to do the work. It's considered the time of the work. Meaning, the time of the work doesn't mean that you actually have to work for him. It means you prepare to work or you do something to do the work. But for sure, when the moment the marshal says, yes, I will work for you, but he's not ready to work for you, meaning, I will work for you tomorrow. He says, yes, today, I'll work for you tomorrow. It's not considered Ba'alav Imay, because it has to be some kind of continuation. From the yes, from the agreement to go to work, to the preparation go to work, and working. How do we know that? Just like we said in the end of Perek HaOmnim, that we already learned that in class, that there was a story, it was a story of the workers that the guy was going to bake, and he gave them a coat. He gave them a coat to watch, and he was going, and instead of going to bake, so we see, and instead of going to bake, he went to drink beer. So it was not considered Ba'alav Imay. Why is it not considered Ba'alav Imay? Because if he would have gone straight to bake and then he would have gone to drink beer, then it would be Ba'alav Imay. But since he gone to drink beer and he didn't go to do baking, so that's not considered Ba'alav Imay. So what do we see? That in order for that to be Ba'alav Imay, going to work is actually is also considered Ba'alav Imay, but only if you're going to work, not you're going other places. Then we reveal the story that by Shait, and that time that they are watching his coat, Shikra Vishosi, they were drinking beer, and it was not Ba'alav Imay. So in order to appreciate this concept, you look at the Shir and the Gemara Daf Pi'alef from Badalef. In the end of the Shir, the whole story is very clear over there. Okay. Now we're going back to our Gemara. Line begins with the word Tana Nosson. Nosson, you want to use the Gemara? You need this Gemara? No, Nosson, you can use this Gemara and Daf Tzadik Daled on the base. Okay, the Gemara brings a Mishnah from Daf Tzadik Gimel Amud Aleph. Tana Nosson, we learn over there in the Mishnah. Arba Shomrim, there are 4 Shomrim which are mentioned in the Torah. Which are they? Shomer Chinom ve'ashoyel. Shomer Chinom, somebody watches for free. Ve'ashoyel, somebody who borrows. Noise Sochor is a Shomer Sochor, somebody watches and gets paid. Ve'asocher, somebody rents. Now, very interesting layout. Why is he doing the layout of the Parsha is first Shomer Chinom, Shomer Sochor, Shoyel, and Socher. And here, it's first Shomer Chinom and Shoyel, and then Shomer Sochor, and then Socher. So the Mefarshim says that first you say the extreme potu, which is Shomer Chinom, then the extreme chai, which is shoel, and then it says in the between. Now he's starting to tell us the dinim. Shomer Chinam. What? First you say Shomer Chinam, which is
Shomer Chinam and Shel, and then you say the Sachar.
the Shem Sachar and Seicha, which is in the middle.
You say the ones for free, and you say the ones for money.
Right.
Shomer Chinam and Shel are for free. There's no money involved. And
Okay, you can look at it that way also.
Sachar, there's money
Yeah,
involved.
that's right. Very good. Very good point, Shmaya. Thank you. Okay.
That sounds
Now-
better than you are in the Gemara.
I'm holding the line that begins the word Ve'ashoyel, about 10 lines from the top. Now the Mishnah, the continuing bringing the Mishnah, the halachas of the Mishnah. Shomer Chinam nish ba'al hakoil. Shomer Chinam swears on everything that happened and is going to be potter. Now he's not mentioning pshir that he's going to be chayv. Tosfos is going to talk about it. Ve'ashoyel meshalem es hakoil. Shoel pays for everything, even anoiness. And it doesn't mention that Meiso Machmas Melocha, that is potter. Tosfos is going to talk about it. Nושא Sacha v'Seicher nishboim, they swear al hashvuro if the item broke, v'al hashvuro if the item goes captured, v'al hameiso if they died, u'mishalmis ha'aveda v'segneva, and it pays gneva v'aveda. Okay. Tosfos. Now Nושא Marbo Shem, the first Tosfos on the Orbit. The question is that comes about in this Tosfos is, why do we wait till now? This Mishnah is in Perek Asecher Sapoyalim. Why the Gemara discuss it till now? Why the Gemara did not talk about it till now? So Tosfos answer. Mishum da'asim mastitin krode ve'im ba'alav imoy. Since it brought in our Mishnah the pasuk of im ba'alav imoy, which is a very important halacha regarding all the four shomrim. Not alemeimar minan emili adachas. So he waited to say minan emili to all the halachas, to discuss the Shomer Chinam and Shomer Sachar and all of them till here. Like this, he has a full picture and a full talk. Next Tosfos. Shomer Chinam nish ba'al hakoil. Says Tosfos lo choshi pshir. He's not mentioning that Shomer Chinam is chayav on pshir. Why? The beho kulu chayovim. Because on pshir all of them are chayav. It's not something that has to do with each particular shomer. It's a chiyuvim. Here in the Mishnah only talks about the special chiyuvim that those shomrim have. Next, v'ashoel meshalem es hakoil. So also, mashuuska b'parsha, he only mentions the chiyuvim that it's mentioned in parsha, which is gneva v'aveda, and pshir, and oines. Aval meiso machmas melocha, the concept of meiso machmas melocha, that's what it means. That you borrow an item, and it died because of the work. Kiven sheshoel yesh lo reshush lases bo melocha, since a shoel has permission to do work in that item, and since it didn't work out for you, you couldn't use it the way it's supposed to be, it's potter. It's literally a svaret. So obviously, some of Foshim says that you probably gave him an item which is not good. Okay, back to the Gemara. Frag the Eilike Gemara, the line begins with the word Agnever. Menan Emili, how do we know all these chiyuvim? The Tonu Rabbanon, okay? This is the three parshas. Okay, the parsha Rishona is a Shomer Chinam, parsha Shnia is a Shomer Sachar, then you have Shoel and Seicha. Okay, let's go. The Tonu Rabbanon, the Gemara is bringing a brayse. Parsha Rishona Nemra b'Shomer Chinam. The first parsha talks about a Shomer Chinam, Shnia b'Shomer Sachar. The second one talks about a Shomer Sachar. Shlish is b'Shoel, and the third parsha talks about a Shoel. Now, in the parshas, the only parsha that says a name is the third parsha. It says V'chi Ishal. It says a Shoel. On the first parsha of Shomer Chinam and Shomer Sachar doesn't say names. So the Gemara is going to challenge it. Okay? But first we're going to read the Rashi. Rashi is going to bring me all the psukim, but we have the psukim right on the board. Can you, thank you, focus on the psukim so we all can see. Says Rashi, the first Rashi. Nishboim shekenu shelo yipashu bo v'shelo yisholcho bayad. Rashi first tells us the swearing that the shomer has to swear. Shvur number one, he has to swear that was the story. Shvur number two, the shomer has to swear that he didn't do a pshir, he didn't do negligent, and shvur number three, that he didn't use it. Okay? So now, If he used that regarding Hashem Echinam and Hashem Esocho, only by those two, it's called Shlichus Yad, then he's chayiv on everything, even on oinus. If they did a shir, also the same thing. If they didn't watch it proper, they did negligent, and something happened, again they're chayiv. Okay, next Rashi. Parasha Rishono. That's a good chazorah for everybody. This Rashi is an amazing chazorah. Gimel Parshias Ein Semuchos. There are three Parshias next to each other. Nושא, let's write on this column. Rashi, Parsha Rishono. Parsha Rishono. Okay, got it? Good. Parsha Rishono. It's a very good chazorah for all of us who learned already this psukim. Gimel Parshas and Smuchos, there are three Parshas next to each other. And he starts with the first one. You can look on the board, and Rashi takes us with the board to all these things. When somebody gives to his friend money or dishes to watch, and this Parsha potter alagneve, he says that this shomer is potter alagneve. How do we know that? The ksiv. Vegunov Beiseish was stolen from the house of the person, which means shetoyen shenignevo imeno, that he claims that it was stolen from him. The ksiv, like it says in the pasuk, v'nikra balabais Elokim. The balabais comes to Elokim and Beis Din. V'okim, why is balabais? Why is the owner coming to Beis Din? L'shvua, to make the shomer swear, shenishba shelo sholach bo yodai, that he swears that he didn't do a shlichus yad, he didn't use it. That means like this. Rashi has only mentioned one of the shvua, but it says in the pasuk, v'nikra balabais Elokim im lo sholach yodai b'mleches rei. Okay, it doesn't mention clearly all the shvus. V'achareo, and the parsha after that, right here, when somebody gives a donkey or an ox or a sheep to watch, and in that parsha he makes the shomer chayav al hagneva, upoter al oinsim b'tshvua, and he made him poter al oines of the shvua. How do we know? Okay, the ksiv, umei so inishba or inishba. He died or broke or got captured, Shvus Hashem Tia. It will be a shvur between them. And when you swear, you potter. V'im gonev yeshalem. And if it was stolen, he'll pay. So it says it clearly, Chayv and Gneva. So this parsha is potter Gneva, this parsha is Chayv and Gneva, and potter Anoinis. The Shlishis, and the third parsha, V'chi Yishal, V'chi Bois Oinsim, Kshein Ba'alav Imoy, he makes you Chayv by Oines. When it's not Ba'alav Imo, you potter ba'alim, and he made you potter by a oines when it's Ba'alav Imo. Beautiful. So Rashi literally summarized all the psukim. Now I'm going to continue reading the Gemara. We're holding the line that begins with the word Beshoyel, and I'm starting with the word Bishloim. The Gemara is going to ask a question. Bishloim Eshlish is Beshoyel. I understand that the third parsha talks about a shoyel mefurish. It says clearly. What? It says clearly. It talks about a shoyel. But you tell me that the first parsha talks about a shoyel and the second parsha talks about a shoyel. Eipuch ano. I will say it's the opposite. That the first parsha talks about shoyel sochor, and this parsha talks about a shoyel. And for the Elike Gemara, mistabro shniya b'shem esocher. It makes sense that the second parsha talks about Shem esocher. Why? Sheken chaye b'gneva v'aveda. Because in this parsha the shomer is chaye in gneva v'aveda. In this parsha the shomer is off the hook of gneva v'aveda. Which one is making sense to say that is chaye in gneva v'aveda? Shem esocher. Why? Because he's getting paid for watching. Frag the Elike Gemara, the Rabbi just the opposite. Rishoyna b'shem esocher. I'm going to make the first one, the first parsha talks about Shem esocher. Why? Because the first parsha has a chumra, has a strictness that the second parsha doesn't have. What's the strictness? So I'm going to say it Baal Peh, then we're going to read it inside. The strictness of the first parsha is like this. The shomer of the first parsha, when he claims that it was stolen from him and we make him swear, he's off the hook, he doesn't pay. But when we catch him that he's the ganev, Eidim comes, so what happened? The process is he swears, he's off the hook. He swears, he's off the hook. But Eidim comes that he's the Ganev, then he has to pay double. The second parsha, he only pays one. So the first parsha is a chumrah that the second parsha does not. So maybe this first parsha is Shemer Socher and the second parsha is Shemer Chinam. Let's read it from inside. The first parsha will talk about Shemer Chinam, Shemer Socher. I'm sorry, Shekem Mishalem Tashlum Keifel B'Toitan is Ganev, because he pays double when he claims that a Ganev stole it. Rashi. B'Toitan is Ganev. Toin Shenignevo Imenu. When the Shemer says it was stolen from him, when him Tzashuatz Megonvo, and he found out that he himself stole it, Chayev Bo Keifel B'Parsha Shena. The Parsha Shena makes the Shemer Chayev double. How do we know that? Diksiv. Im lo yimotze Ganev, if you cannot find the Ganev, why can't we find the Ganev? Because it's a possibility that the Shemer is the Ganev. What's the next words? Al kol var pesha and any pshi yishalem shnayim. Right here, shalem shnayim. It says that he has to pay 2. So if he right away, so this shomer has to pay 2. Continue Rashi. V'ukimne beperek merube. It says in Gemara perek merube in Bobekame. Im lo imotz. What's the pshat? Im lo imotz aganev. Why can't we find the ganev? Im lo imotz. If you don't find the way he says that somebody else stole it, Elohu atzmoi gonvoy. Rather, he himself stole it. Yishalem shnayim, he pays 2. Now, when does he have to pay 2? So Rashi clarifies. First, he has to swear that on a lie that it was stolen. Then, if Eidim comes, he's going to be chayav kefir, double. But if Eidim comes before he swore on a lie, he doesn't have to pay double. Why? It says because that's what it says in the Torah. If the ganev will not be found, why? He already swore. How do we know that he swore? Because it says when he comes to Beis Din to swear. Al kol var pesha sherishim dayonim be'edim, and any pshir that the Beis Din will find him guilty with edim, yishalem shnayim. He has to pay 2. Vekiven the chumro, since it's a strictness, shad yilach pashas al shemer socher. Put it on this pasha on a shemer socher. Why? Dilu pasha shniya leiki kefer. Because the second pasha, the shemer doesn't have to pay double. Do michayev lebegnev aveda. He's chayev right away on gnev aveda. And from the moment that he claims that it was stolen, he pays right away Karen. So that's the question of the Gemara. And for the Eliki Gemara, Elo afilu achi, even though the second parsha, the first parsha has a strictness of Kefil, and the second parsha you pay 1 right away. The fact that the shomer in the second parsha pays 1 without swearing, meaning he pays right away, it's a stricter chumrah, it's worse than paying kefil with a shvu and Eidim comes, meaning by the first parsha we don't know if you're ever going to pay. Only if you're going to find a lie and Eidim swear, and Eidim came, and so on and so forth, then he pays double. But if none of this happen, he will never pay double, and he never pay anything. Masha'enken, by the second parsha, he pays 1 right away. It's called in English, people prefer 1 bird by hand than 2 birds on the tree. If I have 1 bird in my hand, I prefer that than 2 birds on the tree. Now the Gemara is going to bring a proof that getting paid right away is more strict than maybe kefil later. Teda. The shoel kolano sheloi, shoel has the entire benefit. So therefore, since he has the entire benefit, he should be strict on shoel on everything, right? Ve'eno mishalem elo keren, and he only pays keren. Meaning, if to pay kefil with shvu is more stricter than pay keren right away, what should you make a shoel do? Make him swear, make him potu, and make him pay double when he gets caught. But we don't do it. Make him chayv right away. So it shows that paying right away is more stricter. It's stricter than paying double maybe later.
But also the stuff, then he had to return it.
Say it again.
If the Shem Tzachar had the stuff, he has to return it.
Avad, for sure he has to return.
So if they found out later that he took the stuff, he has to return it, and actually he is paying double.
He's chayiv to pay.
That's what that pays for.
He's not paying double. Okay, Rashi, אפילו אחי, רבו יסוי. אפילו אחי, זה כדי לקרשי, looking at Rashi, חמור השנייה מראשונו, the second parsha is worse, is more stricter than the first parsha. Why? The counter below שבוע, שהשנייה מחייב, I'm sorry, the counter below שבוע, that Karen, paying Karen without swearing. שהשנייה מחייב to the second parsha makes you חייב לשלם קרן משומר נגנבו. That the second parsha makes you chayiv keren right away from the moment he said it was stolen. V'afilu nishba l'sheker, he didn't swear on a lie. Zu chamura min harishona, this is worse from the first parsha. Shepoitarto mileshalem keren, that makes him potter from paying the keren. Im lo bo edim shenigno yishu gonvo. If edim will come, that he stole it. Af al pi shemechayav to kefel, acher shenishba l'sheker bo edim. Even though that makes him kefil later after he swore on a lie in Edim Kem. And without swearing, then for sure you don't have kefil. Teida zok Rashi, do adifo, that which one is better? That Karen without shvua is more chomo than kefil with a shvua. From that we don't see that the Torah makes shoel potter on a gneve when a chayve kefil after shvua, and will make him chayv kefil after swearing. Now, this next few lines of the Gemara is just like a parenthesis in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to discuss a little bit of shoel, not to prove anything regarding a shoel. Okay, nothing to prove anything regarding a shoel. Meaning that if the shoel doesn't have it, when the shoel doesn't have the entire anoah, then you treat them differently. Not to do that. The Gemara just having a private discussion, does the shoel has the entire anoah or not? So back to the Gemara. Frag the Ele ki Gemara, ve'ashoel kol anoah sheloi. Shoel has the entire benefit. You just told me shoel has the entire benefit. He's the only one using it. No, it's not true. V'abaye mezoini. The cow, he borrowed the cow. The cow needs to be fed. So if the cow needs to be fed, and now who is feeding it? The shoel. So the mishmashil benefits. And for the Gemara, the kaim or ba'agam, that she's staying in the lake, and therefore she's grazing by, and she's eating free. The mashil never have to pay for it, and the shoel doesn't have to pay for it. She has to be watched, and somebody has to watch it. So now who paid for the watching till now? The mashil. And now the shoel has to pay for it. So the mashil also benefit that he doesn't have to pay for the watching. And for the Gemara benotar moso, there is a guard in the city that is being paid from taxes from the people of the city, so everybody pays anyway. So it's not coming from anybody's pockets specifically. If you want, okay, so shoel doesn't have the entire anoah. Yes, most anoah. Okay, you got me on the word. Don't pick on me. You got me on the word that's most anoah. Shoel has most anoah, the mashil has some of them. And again, I want to point out, the Gemara's point is not that when the shoel doesn't have all the anoah, that means that it's not a shoel anymore. If you want, I will tell you b'shelas kelim. If you want, I'll tell you when you borrow kelim dishes, you don't have to feed. You don't have to feed it. You don't have to watch it. It's being guarded by itself. So therefore, it's called anoah shaloi. Rashi. One second. The kaim ba'agam kiloimer. Yes, shoel shekol anoah shaloi. There is such a shoel that has entire benefit. The shoel had a lake next to his house, so the behemoth was grazing there. He has most of the because he doesn't pay. Says Rashi, why? The kelim dishes don't need to be fed. And being watched in his house for free. I have one more Tosis. Can I say the Tosis then answer you? Tosis is the kaim b'agam. So Tosis is saying what I just said before. The kaim b'agam, The Gemara doesn't want to say in a case when the shoel does feed the cow, that he doesn't have the entire anoah, that he's potter, that he's not a shoel, because he doesn't have the entire anoah. Doesn't make a difference if he has less anoah. He's always going to be chai b'noisim. The Gemara's point was the following. Even shoel that has the entire anoah, kigoin the kaima bagam, that for example that she's grazing by the lake, and he gets the benefit, the entire benefit. So the Torah should have machmiranim and put him to pay kefil, to pay double. And what is the Torah do? He only pays. Thank you so much for listening to the shir. It was amazing.